What's up, everybody? It's your boy D Max. So let's go ahead and talk. Take my time on this one because I really want to break this thing down and give it its just due. And what I want to talk about is racism and how racism is not going anywhere. For a long time, I've been fighting racism. I've shared with a lot of people the name that my parents gave me at birth, and with my name, there came a whole lot of racial conversations simply because of what my name represents. And if you don't know, my name is Kunta Kinte. And with a name like that, there's often comes up racial conversations. And I've so for a long time I've had this thing in me where I felt like I've had this obligation to fight against racism and people who just are ignorant to the history of who we are and the things that took place. And so in doing this, I came to a point of frustration and I was like, God, when are we ever going to be able to get rid of racism? And this was a serious question that I was asking God because I was angry, I was bitter, frustrated, all of that. And I was like, God, when are we going to get rid of racism? And in the calmest, smoothest voice I ever heard, he said, when will you ever get rid of hatred? And man, that hurt my soul. I mean, it truly hurt my heart, hurt my soul, it was like somebody was telling me that Santa Claus didn't exist all over again, and I was 4 or 5 years old. Just broke my heart, man. And but I had to swallow that pill and accept that truth that as long as hatred exists in this world, racism will exist in this world. Racism is a taught behavior. We've seen many studies, we've seen many experiments. Children who are just children and out playing and don't know no better, they don't know anything about racism and culture and stuff like that. They see another child, they don't care about color, they just want somebody to play with and go have fun. But it's ultimately the adults and the authority figures in their lives who say, no, you can't play with that person, or it's not good to be around those people. And that's where these children begin to learn how to hate. And that's why I'm always discouraged whenever I see two hateful people in a relationship. I can't stand to see two hateful people in a relationship because I know at some point they gonna have sex and they gonna make a little hateful baby. And now you got this little disgruntled baby walking around with a mean mug on his face, looking at everybody like they stink, like they got on a diaper. Yeah, I just don't want people to recreate this hatred. And so, not to get too far off topic, but that just goes to say that hatred is a taught behavior. This is something that um, kids see an example of in the household. I remember a long time ago when I was in high school, I come from a little small town in North Carolina. And so there's definitely racial tensions in North Carolina. And I recall there was a young man who played on our football team, and his father was also the principal of the school. Now, a lot of us young black men had run ins with his father, and we could sense like some racial undertones with him, just the vibe that he gave off. And so, one day we're out there we're in the locker room. We I'm not gonna say no names because I don't put nobody on blast, but we're like, hey, so and so. Hey, just be honest with us. When your dad at home, he be saying racial stuff, don't he? And dude was like, yeah, he do. He be saying stuff, you know. It wasn't a shock to us, but to have something confirmed like that, it really changes your perspective on things, because this is someone who's an authority figure. This is someone who's an educator. He's in charge of shaping and molding our character and our lives as young students in high school. And this man had a hidden hatred towards us because of our skin color and because of what he believed about black people. And so, things like this are things that you're going to have to bear all through life. There's no generation that's not going to deal with racism and classism and so forth and so on. And so to have a mindset of wanting to get rid of it, that's a noble mindset. It's a noble gesture, but it's just not realistic. The reality is, as long as there's hatred in the world, there's going to be racism, because racism is just a byproduct of hatred. And I came to that realization, man, and I ain't even gonna lie, it had me throwed for a second, because I was like, so no matter what we do, no matter all of the kind gestures, no matter all of the work that we've done to change the narrative and to paint ourselves in a different light, no matter what we do, somebody's still going to hate us? Yes, absolutely. That's the sum total of it right there. And so, as we fight to eradicate racism, just know that you'll never be able to do that. It's never going to happen. But what we can do is ignore the racism. What we can do is uh, be bigger than the racism and make it so uncomfortable for racist people to speak. Make it so uncomfortable for racist people to exercise their views in public, or to try to exert some type of dominance over anybody in the presence of the rest of us. That's all we can do in those situations. We'll always have this thing lingering over us, this byproduct of hatred to battle against, and we're never going to destroy it or get rid of it. So for anyone to have the idea or the concept in their mind that there's no racism in the United States, they are absolutely lying to themselves, because there's hatred within the United States. So racism has to be there. It's under that umbrella, along with murder, rage, cancel culture. All of these things are a byproduct of hate. And so being able to accept this truth, like I said, it threw me for a minute, because I was like, man, there's just no way around it. But at the same time, the the same spirit of God that gave me that revelation also gave me ways to, you know, to combat it, and ways to always have an answer whenever placed in a situation to where racism could be used against me or other people. And so, now I look at things a lot different. When somebody say the N word, it don't hit like it used to, because I have an understanding now. When people say, "Oh, you're a monkey," and they allude to all of these different stereotypes concerning my people, it don't hit like it used to, because I understand that this is always going to be here. These types of people are always going to be in existence as long as this world exists and the people on it exist. So yeah, that's kind of a hard thing to think about, a hard pill to swallow. But at the same time, what's going on? Salute to you this morning, my brother. Um, always love to get the support from my brothers, man. We had a great talk the other day. I appreciate the meeting of the minds, man. It always leave me with a lot to think about and stuff, man. So I appreciate brothers like Self Awareness TV, Deron B TV, and all of the other people who joined in on the panel. Um, but yeah, like I was saying, man, hatred is always going to be here, and as long as people utilize that hatred and fall for the things that comes with hatred, then we're gonna deal with this issue. And so that's something that's always gonna be here. So what I'm gonna do to combat the hatred that will never be eradicated is I'm going to show love. And love don't always look like a hug or a kiss or all of those things that we attribute to love, all of the romantic stuff. Sometimes love look like uh me showing this person just how wrong they are through conversations. I'm not going to get angry at this person and threaten to kill him, because that's not going to get rid of the racism. If I get rid of that vessel that houses that hatred, that spirit of hatred is still going to carry on. That spirit of hatred is going to carry on through their children. If they have children, it's already in their family, because that's where they oftentimes learn their hatred from. And so killing the vessel is not going to kill the hatred. So that's not the way to combat hatred. You got to combat that hatred with the love. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a conversation with this person, and I'm going to gain an understanding of why they have so much hatred. And you would be surprised how many of these people are willing to sit down and tell you why they have the hatred in their heart that they do. I recall a while back, Liam Neeson got into a whole lot of trouble because he was expressing his feelings about how he viewed black people because of something that happened to one of his friends. He said one of his friends was beat and assaulted by a black person, and every black person he saw, he wanted to do something to him because of that residual hurt and pain that he felt for his friend who had to endure that at the hands of somebody who looked like us. And he's just human. People are going to have these thoughts, people are going to have these emotions, but what it boils down to is if you're going to act upon these things. A lot of people have crazy thoughts. Man, I done had some of the most psychotic thoughts in the world, but the difference between me and the serial killer is I don't go out and act on those thoughts. And a lot of people are in that same boat as far as racism and race relations, period. We have our biases, we have our prejudices, we have our stereotypes that we adhere to. And, we keep those things to ourselves because we know they're offensive, but it's just something that we can't shake because it's something that's been indoctrinated in us through our family, through other people that we look up to and we hold their word as bond. So, we just have to unlearn some of this error teaching that we received as children. And not only, and I'm not saying that only white people are taught hatred, because we as black people, we are very well acquainted with hatred. We see the hatred all day, every day towards each other in our neighborhoods and out and about. So we're very familiar with the hatred, and racism is just a byproduct of that. So the way that me and my brothers was talking the other day, how black people don't see no value in themselves. And so if you can look at a black person and not see any value in them, that means that you have to do a self inventory to see what is it in you, what is it that you've adopted, what belief have you adopted to make you see no value in a black person, and then you'll be able to see from the mindset of a racist person. Because if you look at it, they're doing the same thing. A lot of these young black men out here don't see no value in a black life. Same with these white nationalists and the Ku Klux Klan and all of these other groups. They don't see no value in a black life. And so it's easy for them to take one. It's easy for them to not care about one. It's just as simple as that. And so it's a hate thing. It's not a race thing anymore. We can't fight. Well, you can fight against racism. Just know that your fight is futile. You got to fight against hate as a whole. And that hate covers a broad spectrum of things, man. And whenever you're fighting against hatred, you can't be thin-skinned and you can't take everything personal. You got to know that they're going to lash out at you before they accept anything that you say, because they are used to operating in hate. So whenever you decide that you're going to confront somebody or deal with somebody concerning racism or classism or any of those isms that are produced by hatred, just know the energy that come behind it isn't going to be accepting too often. So you got to be willing to take a lot of L's and take a lot of losses, or what it's perceived as a loss, because anytime you talk to a person, you're going to plant a seed. But you got to be willing to take those hits. You got to be willing to take those insults and know that it's coming from a place of hurt. And, we asking these people to let go of their hurt and their pain. But if we don't have anything to replace that hurt and that pain that we telling them to let go of, then they stuck with an empty void. So we got to be able to fill that void as soon as they're willing to release that hurt and that pain, because that's been their motivator all throughout their life up to this point. And so when we asking these people, man, let go of that. Come on, man, you got to release that stuff. You got what you gonna give me in return? What is going to make me feel better? What is going to give me the satisfaction that keeps me going that I used to get from the pain and the hurt and the anger? You got to have something to replace it, man. And so this is where my mindset is now, man, is meeting hatred head on. It ain't about racism no more, man. I care less about your color. I could care less about your beliefs about another people, because it's all rooted in hatred. And when I get to the core of your hate, then that's where we can begin to build, and that's where we can begin to change the narrative and change that person's perspective. Probably some people are just going to hold tight to what they believe, and you're not going to be able to change their mind. Okay, well, that's cool. Well, you're going to have to be able to learn how to exist peaceably amongst that person, because they might work with you. They might be in your neighborhood, might be one of your neighbors, might be a business that you frequent on the regular. There's always all different types of scenarios, and people, everybody has our own demons that we deal with. And so I recall going to this store all the time, man, and the dude, he was just always angry. And, I attribute it to his nationality, because he wasn't from this country. And every time he was talking, he was always talking really aggressive. And, but I didn't understand that in where he's from, in his culture, they just naturally speak aggressive like that. And so I just figured the guy was always angry and always had problems. But, one day I just stopped and took the time to talk to him. And, he was a pleasant dude. He wasn't angry. That's just when he speaks in his language and the dialect and the way that they put emphasis on certain things, it sounds very aggressive. It sounds like they're angry. It sounds like they getting in somebody's case, but that wasn't the case. But I had to gain some understanding for me to be able to recognize what was taking place, man. And so I just champion us gaining some understanding. That's something that I'm always going to be saying, is understanding. Because when you understand something, It may just change your perspective, and if it don't change your perspective, it gives you more of an idea how to deal with it if it ever comes in your vicinity, and you have to deal with those situations. So going out here today in this world, man, I don't know what I'm gonna run into. I may run into somebody who just do something that makes my day, and I may just go out here and run into somebody who does something that just leaves me bewildered and wonder what type of world are we living in. Both of those things can happen today over and over again. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know this. I may not be able to control those outward things, but I can control my reaction and my response to those things. And my reaction and my response to those things can possibly change somebody's view or change somebody's attitude towards something. So keeping these things in mind always keep me level headed to a certain extent, because I'm looking to enhance and I'm looking to build. So that's just me, man. Everybody, y'all go out here, man. Have a great day. Go and be great. Do all the great things that you know to do, and there's nobody that can be better at you than you. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.